Hey everybody, I just got done listening to the Wintersun Time 2 album for probably the 30th time. I really wanted to delve deep into it, immerse myself, hear every single instrument that I could in the mix that it was released in. I know I could have listened to the individual tracks to really get a good feel for every instrument actually played. I just really wanted to hear it in the way that Yari mixed it. Most of this is going to be a very, very good review. A couple of things I'll probably be a little nitpicky about, and there is some disappointment that I will tell you about at the end of the video. If you all want to fast forward to the end of the video, I don't blame you at all. I'm not trying to waste anyone's time. I just really wanted to dive down into my thoughts about Time 2. I have been waiting for this album for a very, very long time. Just to give you the backstory of it, I first found out about Wintersun in May of 2006. How I found out about them was actually outside of an old venue that is no longer there. I'll show you a picture of it. It was called the King of Clubs in Claremore, Oklahoma. The bands I believe that were playing that night were Suicide Silence, thanks YouTube, I can't even say that first part, and As Blood Runs Black. Now, these bands were not by any means famous at the time. They were going around doing their own tours across the United States, doing everything they could to get discovered. And a lot of the times, we would just hang outside of the venue because it could only hold about 80 people. So they could only sell a maximum of 80 tickets. They would leave the doors open so we could kind of hear them, and they wanted to get exposed as much as possible, so they didn't mind that people could really hear them clear or were poking their heads into the door. Then we would actually hang out with them after the show. So that was a lot of fun. But I remember in May of 2006, one of my friends' friends ended up coming and telling us about Wintersun. Ended up showing us there, right there on the sidewalk through his trusty old Zune. Yeah, I sound like an old man right now, don't I? So, through a Zune, we listened to Beyond the Dark Sun. I was instantly hooked. I went home and I did some research, and Yari had just posted to his old website about his Time album. Glorified it, orchestras, 1,000 tracks per song, all that good stuff. And little did I know that I would be waiting 18 years to hear that album complete. So here we are today, and there were really only 4 songs released on this album, and the other songs being an intro and transition songs. So not paying so much attention to the other 2 songs on the album. We're gonna focus mainly on Storm, Way of the Fire, One with the Shadows, and Silver Leaves. The first song, Fields of Snow, is the heart of Way of the Fire, just as an orchestral version. And it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. I have a little bit of mixed feelings about the song in general, not for musical reasons, but just out of frustration for something that I'll tell you at the end of the video. Overall, it is a beautiful intro, and it sets up the Way of the Fire absolutely perfectly. I have no complaints about the song itself. Like I said, I'll get to what I mean at the end of the video. Then we go into Way of the Fire. Now, this song is just incredible. It's every bit of what I remember on Wintersun's second tour in the United States. They ended up playing it as a bonus song, tricking the audience into booing and saying hooray for one more song played after whatever song it was that they played before, and then telling him how about 10 more songs, and then they went into Way of the Fire. It was an absolutely amazing experience, except for the venue where it wasn't necessarily their fault, but kind of their fault that they didn't have proper air conditioning for everyone in there. It was in Dallas, Texas, and just horrendously hot. Like, you could see everybody on stage dripping with sweat, let alone everyone crushed together by the audience. That was, it was a fun experience, but also just not a good time for the Texan heat to be blasting this venue that had really relatively no air conditioning. I forgot what that venue was, but that show introduced me to a lot of amazing bands that I did not know about, like Arsis and Starkill. I really enjoyed that. Now, I knew who Flesh God Apocalypse was beforehand, but I'd never seen them live, and I never saw their get-up before. That was a really entertaining show as well. Now, as for the mix for Way of the Fire, my one complaint about it is I thought the vocals were a little quiet. Now, of course, this was mixed to Yari's needs, not mine. So I understand that what I'm saying here is just absolutely pure opinion, but that's the only weak part about the Way of the Fire in general. I just thought the vocals were just tiny bit quiet. Everything else is very, very much in-your-face guitar, and even more, which this just blew my mind, was how the drums sounded. I've never heard drums sound so good on a song, let alone an album before. These drums were mixed perfectly in my opinion, and is now my favorite drum tone of any album I've ever listened to. I did not think that was going to happen. That really blew my mind with how the drums were mixed. So huge drums in this song, and as well as in the next two upcoming songs that I'm going to mention. Of course, the guitar solos are absolutely as incredible as what I remembered live. It was nice to hear a studio version of this song. Moving on to One with the Shadows, that song is incredible. I absolutely love every bit of it, and I've heard a lot of people say, why was this song so underrated and so off everyone's radar when it came to the album coming out? Well, it's actually really, really simple. Wintersun played Storm live. Wintersun played The Way of the Fire live. Wintersun has been hyping up Silver Leaves as the most beautiful song they ever wrote. Well, at least Yari. No one talked about One with the Shadows. No one knew what One with the Shadows was. Fields of Snow is clearly a intro/transition piece. Same with Ominous Clouds. So I don't think anybody really understood that One with the Shadows may or may not be the same thing. No, I don't think anybody really had a real grasp as to how that song was going to go, how long it would be, how short it would be. It just wasn't advertised like the other three songs were. It's just another really, really good song written by Wintersun. The melodies in it are incredible. Again, the mix, the vocals to me were stronger in this album. The guitars were fantastic. The drums were huge. So no complaints with this song at all. Even just my own petty little personal tastes. No, everything was perfect with that song. Moving on to Ominous Clouds, that was really cool. I didn't expect it to be just some little light guitar soloing. Heavy guitar soloing, but light tone, you know what I mean? It's like some in-between edge of breakup type guitar soloing. It's kind of what I mean by it. Not heavy metal guitar soloing. Incredible intro and transition into Storm. Storm is just wild. Everything is huge. Everything sounds massive. Vocals are massive. Drums are massive. Again, the drums really just, on this album, are the shining instrument. It seems Yari was really getting into drum mixing or something with this album because it sounds just ridiculously huge. And I should mention the bass as well, sounding huge throughout all the songs. Storm is just wild with its magnificent guitar solos, its absolute brutal riffs, and very ominous choruses throughout the entire song. It just sounds beautiful. Then we transition over to Silver Leaves. Silver Leaves was not the song I thought it was going to be. I was thinking more along the lines of The Land of Snow and Sorrow or Loneliness. Yari kept hyping it up as the most beautiful song he ever wrote, but I was kind of wondering how it would go if it was just another metal ballad like those two songs I just mentioned before. Turns out it wasn't even close to those songs. It sounded nothing like it. It's much more energetic, yet unbelievably beautiful. I have to agree it is certainly the most beautiful song Wintersun has ever written or released by far. What an absolute masterpiece that song is. I cannot hype it up enough. The drums really take a back seat in this song, but it's definitely done on purpose because there's just no massive drum hits. What was it that disappointed me about the album? When I got to the very end of the song and I had to go repeat the album, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm really sad that this song is the end. I'm really sad that this is the end in general. I know it's like 48 minutes and some change, but I really didn't want the album to end yet. And it made me realize that I would 100% sacrifice Fields of Snow any day to have this album complete as the Time album. I think we were really robbed of that experience, and that's my personal opinion on it. Having Time as a whole would have been absolutely incredible. Hearing all these songs for the first time again really makes me wish that I had heard every one of them together at the same time for the first time. That was just an experience that I feel like we're never going to get to experience, unfortunately. So that's my big disappointment with it, and it made me realize it never should have been separated into two albums. I kind of wish they would have figured out the crowdfunding thing before they released Time 1, but that's nobody's fault. That just happened, and crowdfunding wasn't exactly a huge thing in 2012. Unfortunately, we were kind of robbed of an experience that more or less came from Nuclear Blast, but I don't really blame them for it either. They were just trying to figure out ideas on how to get Wintersun's next album out there. At the end of the day, it's really nobody's fault. I don't blame anybody for it, and I'm not that sad that we got it this way. I just kind of wish that we had experienced Time all in one release. as it was intended. I love Fields of Snow. I think it's an incredible song, but I would sacrifice that 4 minutes if we could go back in time and have it all as one released album. I mean, just imagine if they did figure out the crowdfunding before Time 1 was released. They could have had 4 seasons and possibly 1 or 2 other albums out before we got the Time package in general. And receiving all that at once, I think would have been much more satisfying for everybody. Because in reality, I don't necessarily care that Time came out now. I would have been happy with any album Wintersun is released. All that to say, I'm excited to see what's coming in the future for Wintersun. I cannot wait. I really hope we get another released album from them in the next 2 to 3 years. That would make me incredibly happy. Those are my opinions, those are my thoughts. I'm sure a lot of you disagree, and that's fine. Just comment down in the comment section below and tell me why you disagree or why you do agree, because I would love to hear it. I'm not trying to argue with anyone. I just want to see other people's perspectives on how they enjoyed the music and what they feel Wintersun could have done, or if they felt Wintersun did absolutely everything the right way as they had released everything. So just let me know. I'm very interested to hear your side of the story on it. I don't do many album reviews. I don't plan on doing any album reviews in the future. But if this is something you like, I very well may change my mind on that. So please hit subscribe, like this video, and also, I have a true crime channel. If you guys want to go follow that, link in the description below. I think, if you guys are into that stuff, I can provide to you all some really good stories and true crime events that have taken place. So thank you all, and I'll see you guys here in the next one. Later.